Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of Kamen Kast. This is we're going to say episode-ly podcast. I guess it just depends on whenever we get to see the episodes as they come out. We do follow a subgroup that takes their time. But anyway, I'm Peas for Lunch, and I'm also here with my lovely wife,
Daisy64.
So we're here to talk about first episode of Kamen Rider Zi-O. Now, we started this show with Zi-O. We probably should have started it with Build, as much as Build was good. Maybe we'll come back and talk about...
Well, we'll talk about it a little bit here and there.
Yeah, and I feel like especially with this series, we're going to be talking a lot about older series and how we feel about them, etc. Okay, so for those who don't know, maybe you found this randomly, Kamen Rider is a Japanese show that had a very small run in America and didn't really work out, but it's in the same vein as Power Rangers, just a little bit more for the young adult crowd, so they take things a little bit more seriously, and they have deeper plot lines and things like that. But we're not going to get too far into that. We're going to start talking about Zi-O right away, and we're just going to take it at the top. So for starters, first thing we see in Zi-O is the Demon King in the future.
Right.
So it takes place in 2068, where this Demon King is pretty much, I don't know, he's a demon. He's a dominant force. Yeah. He's standing at a shrine with other Kamen Riders behind him, like he's conquered them all, I guess.
Well, it's kind of like a statue to commemorate his first henshin, and it shows all the different rider powers that he was able to acquire over time. So.
Sure. And so, anyway, we get to see this big, cool scene, this big war. I really like that.
It's kind of like Mad Max.
Yeah, it is. And you've got all these, post-apocalyptic people charging at him. And it's just hopeless.
Yes.
I mean, he stops time around him. He just obliterates these people. There's just no hope for it.
Exactly. It's a kind of, for those of you who've actually seen previous Kamen Riders, such as X8, it's kind of like the power that Kamen Rider Kronos has, where he just kind of, pauses.
Yeah, he pauses everything.
And then everything blows up and chaos ensues.
And then the coolest part is when he obliterates everything.
Oh, yeah.
Everything just obliterates, and this girl gets shoved in a hole. We'll get there later. So then, of course, we jump to 2018, which is where we are, and we meet our rider. You're going to be better with names than I am.
Sogo Tokiwa.
Sogo Tokiwa.
Yes. He's age 18. He's a high school student.
Right.
And his goal is to be Simba. Oh, no, I'm sorry. He wants to be king.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Because every time I watch this, I go, I just can't wait
to be king.
Totally.
Every time.
Ridiculous.
Every time.
What do you think about him? Just first impressions.
He's just your average high school student who has a really stupid goal in life.
What a little punk.
Yeah, right? I mean, it's like, oh, no, I just want to be king. Oh, okay, you only want to be king. Well, gotcha. That's a great career goal. And the fact that, this is something else we'll get into a little bit later, too, but his uncle is like, well, hey, you want to take some exams? And he's like, why do I need to take exams? I'm going to be king when I grow up. He's like, oh, okay. Like, it's a totally normal thing to do.
Like, yeah, okay, fine.
Oh, right, yeah, that was on career day. Forgot about that. You were so interested.
I forgot you took the king exam.
Yep.
So anyway, we see him talk to another classmate from, of course, a sport club.
Judo club.
Judo, there you go. And he throws him or whatever, and the kid's still like, oh, you're going to be with me when I'm king or whatever.
I'll make you the royal something of sports.
I don't like this kid.
Yeah, he's kind of cocky, but they try to make it where he's relatable. Like, he wants to do it because he wants people to be happy, and you can just tell people to be happy if you're king, and then people are instantly happy. I guess
they have to be.
That's how it works.
So then we see him find this weird black item.
It's like a watch. It's almost like a stopwatch like you'd use in sports.
Yeah, and it fits in his whole hand. So, I mean, it's fairly big. And instead of doing what a normal person would do and just being like, get this out of here and kind of throwing it, he gently sets it on the ground.
It's like,
He's
this
like,
is not mine. Take it with both hands. Sit it on the ground. I have nothing to do with this.
That was so stupid to me. I was just like, why are you just gently setting this on the ground?
I think that's a cultural thing. It's like, I don't know who this belongs to, so I'm not going to damage their thing, but it's not mine, so I'm setting it to the side. I also love how oblivious he was to the fact that this randomly appeared on his bicycle seat out of nowhere, and he's just like, huh, okay, well, this isn't mine, so I'm going to move it. Like, really? It's a very small bicycle seat, and it just randomly appears, and you're not the least bit suspicious.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, and that's just what happens.
Yeah.
Then we see, so he leaves, he's going upstairs for the scene, and you see this big goofy ass red robot do this little, I'm peeking around the corner.
I was expecting him to have like a bush in each hand and just like hide behind them.
It was so stupid. So far, it was just a super goofy start. We're not going to linger on the uncle. Uncle works in a clock shop. There's nothing really more to say right now. Maybe there will be more later. He does have a name, which...
Junichiro Tokiwa.
Junichiro.
The way I remember it, it's the same name as Hank Hill's brother from Japan in King of the Hill.
Really?
Yeah, canonically speaking, I think it's the same guy.
Oh my god. Okay. Good callback. So anyway, we mentioned earlier his uncle's disappointed because he doesn't want to take an exam. He throws away a practice test. He's simply just going along with this king shit. Anyway,
you forgot to mention real quick about the red robot. There was a weird, like, shady guy who just popped up and was like, beware red robots today.
Oh, I missed that. Yeah. So I had that out of order.
Yeah.
So before he goes to see his uncle, he's walking up the stairs, and there's this cloaked dude of mystery who tells him, like, today's going to be a good day, and today's going to be like this fortunate day or whatever. But beware of red robots, which is, oh my gosh.
Foreshadow much?
So far, the way they set things up is dumb. I feel like the first half of this episode sucks, and then the second half is better. Just my opinion. But anyway, so meets his uncle. We've talked about that. Beware of red robots. And then
he continues on the path where he's going, and all of a sudden, like, he comes on this bridge, and up pops this giant red robot that's been following him around town.
And he's on his bike.
Mm-hmm.
And this robot turns into a freaking spacecraft motorcycle and chases him. But keep in mind, he's able to get away for the most part.
That's the slowest robot I've ever seen.
Slow robot.
Your technology sucks.
From the year 2068, you can't keep up with a kid on a bicycle. I just realized, looking at my notes, we forgot about something else too, but we're getting there. It's fine.
Cool.
So he gets chased by this robot, and then there's a cool scene where he ducks under an awning, and he's like, haha, you can't get me. And he punches through the ceiling and stomps through the ceiling.
The mech, like, punches through the ceiling. The guy inside, which you find out his name a little bit later, super cool looking guy. He looks kind of badass.
Very
I'm just
cool.
like, okay.
Very
I
cool.
believe it.
He's definitely the Vegeta of the show.
Definitely.
It at least looks to be. He gets chased by this robot to a point where he's about to get captured. And this other robot shows up that is like silver and pink and white.
Okay.
And it knocks that robot out of the way, and you hear a girl's voice say, "Get in!" And he gets in the thing. What we forgot to mention about the start of this episode is that after we see all the destruction from the Demon King, we see our young 18-year-old standing next to this girl, and she's playing a video of that Demon King and his destruction. And then he's like, "That's supposed to be me?" So she explains, after showing him that video of the Demon King, that that's him. And that the guy in the robot is there to kill you because you're going to become that horrible thing.
Right.
He's like, oh man, so there's this chase. Red Robot chases, we'll just call it Red Robot for now, chases the girl's robot.
Right.
She jumps to the Jurassic era.
She says Cretaceous, which I think is actually correct. I'm not like a scholar when it comes to dinosaurs.
Right.
But I think I would not have used an elephant sound for a T-Rex.
I wouldn't have either. That's off-putting.
Yeah.
But anyway, he gets chased by a T-Rex comically. She grabs it and she's like, "Oh, what are you thinking?" And it's like he's thinking he needed some air. I mean, of course that's what he's thinking.
Right.
So anyway, she does a time jump again to what looks to be the Edo period. It comes out at 1671. And she goes on to explain who he is, and she hands him the watch piece back, or she gives him the watch.
Because for some reason it's not reacting to him. She's like, well, maybe I do have the wrong guy, because he previously had suggested, like, are you sure it's me? And she gives him a rundown, like, yeah, I know your whole life story. You're great at history, you suck at physics and chemistry, and yeah.
I think it's funny that they threw the physics and chemistry in to say that he sucks at it, because we just got done with Build where that was that guy's thing.
Right.
So they're like, okay, we're going a different direction. This guy sucks at that.
I think there's going to be a lot more that comes into play too with the whole fact that he's really good at history. He loves history. We'll talk about that in a future podcast, but I think it's really going to come into play how, do you really know history as well as you think you know history?
Sure, because you didn't realize it was I'm just going to call it the Jurassic period.
Okay.
You didn't realize that it was, we can say
Just
the Cretaceous period, but there's a T-Rex. We'll just say Jurassic. Anyway, yeah, so they're in the Edo period, and as Daisy said, that she tells them all this stuff. She pays the woman with yen from a digital screen.
Which is really cool. Can I get one of those? I want to know if I can get one of those.
It's neat, but it's like, I feel like the woman would be way more startled than she was.
Yeah, she was just kind of like, well, that's weird, and then, like, walked off.
And they just walked away. I would be like, whoa. Hold on. Hey, so-and-so, you got to come see this.
Right.
I feel like, and of course...
Or she'd be like, I can't accept that.
Right,
You're going to have to go work in the kitchen.
That's demon magic.
Yeah,
right?
it's
And so, anyway, she makes a comedic gesture. This is where Kamen Rider is still for kids and is still campy and cheesy. A fight's going on. A fight breaks out. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, but I have to do this to make sure you're the right dude. And she makes it sound like he said something about the fight. We're not going to linger on this. They pick him up, they throw him in the water, and they walk away happy.
The watch still doesn't react to him, which is what she was trying to do, like put him in peril or something, and apparently wasn't big enough.
And so then he's like, he's happy that they're not fighting anymore. And it's very funny.
And then, Bakemono, here comes... the other rider who's been chasing him in the red robot apparently found where they were and followed them. And apparently they travel via portals through temporal displacement, I think is what they called it.
Yeah, temporal displacement. So the guy in the red robot has now found where they've jumped in time, because the girl explains earlier that she's trying to hide from him as best she can. He shows up. And he's actually in the first, we're going to say the first rider form we see.
Yeah, the base form. Well,
other than the Demon King.
Yes.
But I mean, like in the sense of present time.
Yes.
Or here we are, we're finally in the plot. We see the first rider, Kamen Rider Gates. Mm-hmm. What do you think of this initial form?
Looks pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. The strap of the watch part looks a little weird, but... I like how they have the names on the helmet, and that's something that they were really bringing a lot of attention to in the like the intros or like in the commercial kind of break things. They're just like, oh, look at their helmets. Does it say something? And I think that's really cool. They're really trying to shake up the standard look of the Kamen Rider helmet. For so many years, for decades, it's been very like bug-like, and this time it keeps that, but it adds a little something else. Kind of makes it like a little more modern, which is neat since we're going into a new era. Right.
And so it's red and gold. The letters that Daisy's talking about are actually gold on the helmet. And they come up almost like they're a little spiky. They come up kind of like a spike. The form looks really good.
Yeah.
The form looks really good.
I would hazard to say that I actually like his form better than Zi-O's form.
Zi-O's form. I think so too. I hope Zi-O's form grows on me. So we see Gates show up, and she explains that
Tsukuyomi is the girl, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I forgot that. So she explains that he's from the future like she is. And then we get a quick cut back to that first future scene where he's looking at, well, I don't think we get it here, but we still get some explanation that he is from the past.
Now he knows what happens.
Or from the future.
He knows what happens with Zi-O and where Zi-O goes as far as, like, he kind of turns evil or whatever. And he's like, I've got to stop it, so I'm going to travel back in time to do it. And that explains, like, why he's there.
Right. So this is where, so they jump back in their robots and they get chased again. So we got another chase scene. And Red Robot knocks their robot out of, I guess, like the time space, we'll call it, into Build's world. So 2017, which is the series that just ended.
Right.
He shows up, a Smash, which is one of the villains from Build, attempts to attack him, and we get an awesome cameo, which I love Build so much that as soon as I saw them, it's like seeing an old friend.
Yes.
Kamen Rider Build, or Sento, and Banjo, or Kamen Rider Cross Z, so it's his base form, right? So they show up and they do their rider kick and destroy the monster and explain who they are.
And they're like, "Oh no, are you okay?" Because he was like literally right there, just as they were doing their rider kick.
Right. So where does this take place? This is my confusion, because if Build's in his base form, which is fine, but Cross Z.
I think it's very early on because it said November, I believe November 30th.
Yeah,
so you
that's
gotta
what
think,
it said.
You know, it looks like they're trying to stay very within the timeline of when this actually happens. Like, the air date is kind of like when it happens. Okay. Just kind of like an alternate reality. Because, again, it's set in 2018, which is, you know, the first air date was September 2nd, 2018.
Gotcha.
So it's very present day.
Right. So anyway, they show up, and of course, Sento has to look at this thing that he's holding, this watch piece, which again, if you haven't learned yet, I love Sento. I fucking love Sento.
Build is probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite.
Build is up there. We have to do a series on Build.
We're going to have to.
Anyway, Sento examines it and tells Banjo, oh, well, this is definitely futuristic. You know, he's definitely from the future.
Yeah, we can't create this with current technology.
Yeah, so he's the scientist. He figures that out. And so then they get, Banjo gets shot with something.
They get Men in Black.
They do.
It's like...
But it's weird because she's shooting them. So,
she's shooting them.
So Mystery Girl shows up and shoots them.
Tsukuyomi.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
She shoots him, which it doesn't kill him, it just immobilizes him, and she even...
It has this big, like no sign.
Like this big
circle
negative
with a
symbol.
line
I actually liked that.
It's like, nope, didn't happen. She has a nope gun. She has a giant nope gun.
She does. She's like, And she tells the main character, the main rider, I'm just going to call him Zi-O, because I always refer by rider names.
Just say Zi-O.
Until I'm firmly established with the real name. And so she even knocks him out too and carries him off. We assume, I'm guessing, that she carries him back to his time.
I would think so.
Because he wakes up in his uncle's shop.
Right.
So here's where I get a little confused. So she takes him back to his time. But maybe not. Maybe I'm just getting confused. Anyway, let's just keep going.
We'll come back to that.
We'll come back. But so he wakes up in his uncle's shop, and he's telling his uncle what happened, and he's like, "Oh, that's a crazy dream you had." And so then we see the bad guy, or a bad guy. This basketball player, for some reason, is walking down the street and is about to get hit by a car when the car gets completely stopped. And this very effeminate male character draped in blue with white shoes comes up. Now, you know how I am. I'm weirdly into the effeminate male characters.
Yeah.
They just, I don't know.
There's always something, like, interesting about them. You're just like, I don't know how to feel about you, but you're kind of interesting. So,
mysterious.
Yeah, you're just like,
So he shows up. It turns out he stopped the car. And he tells the guy, hey, if I hadn't stopped that, you would be dead. But if you make a contract with me, then we'll change the timeline and you'll be alive.
Yeah.
And so, of course, the dude's like, oh, okay, well...
Yeah, I don't want to be dead.
I accept that contract. And the way he phrases it is hilarious. I would never say to a strange man, oh, I accept your contract. I'd be like, okay, whatever, dude, just do it. You know, it's just weird. So he turns him into a evil Build.
Like an imposter version.
Yeah. It's a very monster-looking form of Build. He is a bootleg.
He's a bootleg.
But
I mean, he even has like a belt that's all like crude looking.
It's all messed
up. He
up.
looks like melted plastic is what it looks like.
Yeah. It's a really cool looking thing.
Yeah.
Though. And I'm so excited.
It's very off-putting. Because you're just like, you're scary and creepy looking, and I know you're not Build, but it says Build on your chest. So, and you're the color scheme, and you've got a belt, so maybe you are. I don't know.
The build on the chest was the weird part.
Yeah. It's kind of like, you're Kamen Rider Build. Oh, I am. That's my name.
That's the first weird part for me. So
this guy's got a lot of weirdness.
We even get to see, so we get our first shot of these bad guys, and what's cool about this is if they do one for every form, it seems like we're going to get an element of that rider's power built into what they do. So we see him beat up these guys and then absorb them into bottles.
Yep.
Which in Build, you absorbed the smash ability off of a person into a bottle and you save the person. This just absorbs the person.
Yep. It just leaves like rolls, like I guess like rolled clothing. I don't know. I was like
weird.
I don't understand.
I guess he folded your clothes after you disappeared.
Like, hey, that looks like Sogo's shirt.
Right.
What?
And so he absorbs like a karate man and another man.
Tennis.
Man.
And unfortunately, they're not a best match.
They're not a best match. Which, what is a best match, right? Other than Rabbit Tank. But anyway, so then we see him do that. And
that's actually, right after that is when we find out about the dream, the quote-unquote dream.
Yeah.
And the uncle, Junichiro, actually has this interesting talk about... well, it's really good that you had that dream because in your dream, you actually got to be king, and that's pretty cool, right? He's like, I had a dream when I was young, and then he goes into this talk about how time is a really it's kind of a crazy thing, with a clock you can turn the hands back, it's like turning back time, but unfortunately life isn't so easy,
right? Which
that's kind of the premise of the show. We're going to see how that works out.
Yeah, I felt like that was a little too on the nose.
Yeah, it was it's heavy-handed, like, hey, here's what our show's about. But at the same time, it's like, it is geared towards, people who,
It was just too heavy-handed for me.
Yeah.
I think the reason I didn't even bring it up was because I was just like, as soon as he started talking, and I did it again when we watched it the second time, I was just like, okay, Grandpa, just shut up. Like... We're going to learn that message as we go. You don't have to hit us with it right now.
It's like in credits.
Right. Yeah. It's like, so you just told us what the show's about.
Right.
I would rather just have that happen naturally.
Right.
So Zi-O sees evil Build and wants to stop him.
Because now he's beating up a judo guy.
He's beating up the judo guy that threw him earlier on.
Yeah, he's like, you threw me, but we're friends.
Right.
And... I have to save you, even though I'm terrible.
So he can't do it, of course. He tries like twice. Mm-hmm. And can't do it. And then how does the watch activate?
It just kind of like lights up.
It just lights up.
And he's like, right? Oh yeah, I have this really cool watch that's supposed to give me like amazing power.
This part right here was my favorite part of the episode.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So he gets the watch. And he's looking at it, and he turns it to activate it. And then the guy with the book shows back up.
Wars, I think is his name.
Wars, and he is walking around and boasting and just being like, oh, our king is going to be born. This is going to be great.
He's like a herald. He's a herald. Like,
It's
very courtly in the way that he does it. And I love his look. He's so cool. I have a feeling he's going to be my favorite character because he looks freaking cool.
He looks great.
But just the way he acts and stuff, he's a little shady. Like
he's probably going to end up being bad, right?
I mean, yeah, obviously. I mean, because he's heralding this Demon King who these other people are like, no, dude's really bad.
Yeah.
Dude's really bad. And he's like, no, he is the greatness of our time.
And so even the girl is trying to stop this from happening. Even Mystery Girl is like, Wars, what are you doing here? And so he goes on and on about this until finally Zi-O goes, no, I'm going to use this power for good.
I'm going to become a Demon King, but I'm going to be a nice, benevolent Demon King.
I'm going to be a good guy.
I'm going to be an oxymoron.
I'm going to be a good guy.
I'm going to be good.
So he activates this, and then as he does, in almost a comedic but wonderful fashion, this Wars shows up with the new belt on a pillow.
Oh yeah, like I said, it's almost like he's presenting his crown to him.
It was the best. And so he's like, you know how to use this. And it's like awesome.
I don't have to tell you.
So then we get to see the first true henshin of the show.
Yes.
Zi-O puts on his belt.
The Jiku driver is what they call it.
And the Jiku driver, right? And again, Daisy's going to be more into these names at first. I grow into them. I don't really care at first. So the Jiku driver and then henshins. I'm going to ask you what you think here in just a second, but I'm just going to say dumb. I don't like the henshin.
Oh no, I love it.
I
love it because it's very much like the arm or the
hands of a clock.
I love that. And I don't know, it's just I have this thing of this. The clock aesthetic has always been a thing for me.
That's true.
I really
You've always
love
liked that.
Which I'll actually going back a little bit.
Sure.
Saying with the motif of the look, I love how his initial form, actually, they kind of meld the forms. They have, like, the old-fashioned, like, hands with the clock, and then they have the digital as well. Mm-hmm. But in his Oma Zi-O form, which is the Demon King version, on the back, he has the hands, and they kind of look like wings or a cape.
Now, that does look cool.
And I'm just, like, I'm excited to see, like, where this, like, how this evolves. It's going to be really cool.
That does look really cool.
It's going to be really cool. But that's, I can understand where it would be kind of like, oh my god, really? Like, look at me, my hands are pointing at noon. And it's just
he didn't look right. He just didn't look right. Okay.
No, but I love how it did kind of show the statue, like, from the future. In that, like, it's shot, it's like he takes the pose. And then it flashes like, remember this thing, and this is where, like, this is commemorating his first henshin.
Right.
Which is what we're doing now. And so it's kind of like, I love how it's tying the timelines together.
Yes.
It's very cohesive.
It is. It's got thought behind it that feels like it's going somewhere.
Yeah.
So we see him henshin, we see the form. He has a black theme with silver and like a pink.
A little bit of pink.
The name that appears on his helmet is pink, and on his helmet he's got like the minute hand and the hour hand. So yeah. So anyway, he henshins, and the girl's like, "Oh God, no!" And so then fucking Build starts hurling them basketballs at him. Oh my gosh,
he even dribbles.
I love the dribble.
He Hadoukens. He's like, Hadouken, and it's like, wait, did we just go into Kuroko's basketball?
I love the dribble. And I love when he passes it and hits him, catches it again and hits it.
Yeah.
That's the dumbest thing in the world.
You just got, like, bodied in basketball and in a fight. How does this work?
Oh, it's
and then
so
when he
stupid.
slam dunks on him, but then he gets, like, sliced in half with his basketball. Basketball gets it first.
So, jumping ahead a little bit. So they fight.
Sorry, I was just so
That's
excited.
Fine. They fight. Big Monster Basketball Build. That's what we're going to call him from now on. He jumps up into the air. He jumps up into the air for a slam dunk maneuver. And that's when Zi-O's sword appears.
Yeah.
And
blade.
He puts his watch piece into the sword and then does like a Kamen Rider finisher with the sword.
Yeah.
They all have them, but it's weird. We typically don't see them first.
We normally get the kicks first.
Yeah. Now Gaim did the sword first.
Yeah.
Which is strange too. So anyway, he kills the monster.
It kind of works though with the whole like Tsukiyomi looks very much like what's her name? Mai? Mm-hmm. In the white dress. Mm-hmm. I love how this show is pulling parallels to different series.
Right.
So it's kind of like the amalgamation of all these Heisei riders.
Right.
And their various shows, which is, we're going to see more of that, obviously, as we go along.
Of course. So now we're going to talk about another henshin. We get to see Gates do his henshin, which is way better.
Yes.
It's way better than Zi-O's. Yes. The way he puts both hands on the belt and spins it, but he circles his arms to the belt.
Yep.
And then Oh, that was good.
Yep.
That was good.
It was cool.
Gates has the better henshin for sure.
He's had more practice too.
Well, yeah, and it does. I don't know. It just doesn't look. It looks like he fits it. I don't know. And so Gates henshins and is gonna just finally take matters into his own hands for real. And he calls upon the power of Ghost.
Kamen Rider Ghost.
Kamen Rider Ghost.
Ghost. Oh, don't make me do it. Kamen Rider Ghost.
Exactly. So then we see him put on ghost armor.
Yes.
And this is another thing. So me and Daisy are big fans of the Heisei-era. I would say that's where we came in.
We did.
We came in during the Heisei-era. Our first series was W.
Yeah. So even then it had already started, but we tried to...
We went back a little bit. We watched Kiva. I still would like to go back and watch some of the others too.
Right.
But this is going to be cool to see the different armors. He's got an icon as his shoulder pads. So he's got an icon on each side. He's got the Ghost logo on his chest. And then he does the weird little hand symbol that they do in Ghost. Yeah. And he calls out the weird jackets that are in Ghost.
The different icons.
And as much as I did not like Ghost, that was a cool moment.
It was really cool. Because you're like, I know those guys.
Exactly.
And that's what's really cool about this series, which is very much like Decade was earlier on in the era, where it has all these callbacks to this, these other series.
Yeah.
And then you're just like, even if you didn't really like it, you're like, oh, that's familiar, and I like that. So that's really cool.
And I really can't wait until we get more cameos. I know Sento's our first cameo, and that's going to be the easiest one to get.
When you think about, like, so many years ago, Kiva was like, what, 10 years ago?
Yeah.
So when you think about, it was 10 years ago. Okay, yeah. So when you even think about how, like, Wataru could come back, or, I mean, since they can go through time, will we get Otoya, which will be even cooler because it's like, well, they just went to Build, so, there's Kamen Rider Grease.
I thought about that, too.
And I'm just like, oh, they're going to be like, do you look familiar?
What if we get to see Otoya, like Otoya?
Otoya.
And not like, not the actor.
Yeah.
But Otoya. Holy shit, would that not be awesome? I thought about that too.
I would love that so much. And then just to visit all these other great ones, like, we like we said, we mentioned W earlier, and how we love Shotaro and Philip. Rin Kiriyama is probably one of my favorite actors now because of W. I mean, he's wonderful. And just to see him now, and to see if they look any different.
Right.
Because I remember going back to Gokaiger. I think it was Gokaiger, yeah, where they were meeting a lot of the different.
Now, Gokaiger, for those of you who know, is a Sentai.
Yes, sorry.
We're going to start diving in different directions here.
Yoshino Mori created both of them, so we're going to give him credit here.
We can't loose onto this too hard, Daisy, but finish your thought.
How, like, they went back to all these different Rangers, like, they went back to Deca Ranger and saw Bond, the Red Ranger, from Deca Ranger, and how he looked completely different.
Yeah.
He had spiky short hair at first, but now it's longer, and he's a lot more mature and a lot more, like, calmed down, where he was that kind of, like, wild character.
Right.
So I'm interested to see where they hit them in the timelines. Also, that's another thing with them jumping from timeline to timeline. Where in the storyline are they going to jump in?
Yeah.
How is it going to work out? So
and what are we going to get? So
I'm very excited. I love these kind of shows.
Anyway, to end the episode, Gates charges at Zi-O in ghost armor, and the episode ends. So we get kind of like a cliffhanger of, oh man, we get to see him fight next time.
Yeah, and you're like, oh no, he's in trouble. I know what ghost powers can do.
It's going to be short-lived, I feel like. If they do anything bigger with it than just like, oh cool, that was Ghost. That'll be neat. So what did you think of this as a first episode as a whole? Quick thoughts on this part.
I think I'm more excited by the premise than I was the actual show itself, because I have a very strong feeling towards nostalgia.
Mm-hmm.
I like things that remind me of other things that I've liked in the past. So looking back on things like that, it makes me excited for what they're going to do with it. From a character standpoint, Sogo is he's kind of boring as a character.
He is.
But I figure a lot more that's going to come out as he goes along. I've felt that way about some of the Kamen Riders before too, and they kind of surprised me with the way they came out. So I don't know. Cautious optimism, I guess.
Cautious optimism. I feel like, and I'm big on story, and if you actually listen to this show, I'm very critical. Very critical. This is my kind of television, so I take it super seriously. Even though it's meant for young adults. And I get that. I won't even deny that. But I take it very seriously. If we have a good story, that will be nice. They'll keep me here for the prospect of seeing my old favorites. That's exactly what will happen. But I want it to have a good story. Right now, we've got a good setup. Mm-hmm. I've got a few characters to latch on to, and that's what's important. A story is nothing without its characters. I
like a lot of the character designs, and it makes me interested in who they are as people, like what their personalities are, what's their story, and especially since this is one of those kind of time traveling ones. You know, are there any other people that we know in like today's timeline that we're going to see 50 years down the road when Zi-O is in power?
Right.
You know, like, how do they tie into people we might know now? Because it's only 50 years difference. That's a huge, huge change in only 50 years. Right. So, Tsukuyomi and Gates, are they somebody's kids? Somebody's grandkids?
They seem to be somebody's kids.
Yeah, so it's like, how is that going to work? You know?
They seem to be somebody's kids.
Somebody who is alive in this current timeline created these people, so you know how, like, are there any times with him? Is it like classmates, maybe, like their kids or something? Right. I'm interested to see how that's going to work out.
So
if there's any kind of ties there.
Very good start to things. We will release the next episode after episode 2 comes out. Now, understand if for some reason you've caught on to this and you love this, thank you, first off.
Yes, thanks so much.
Secondly, it's going to take us a while before we see episode 2. We do have full-time jobs. We do have a subgroup that takes a while. And we do that because I prefer them. I love you, TV Nihon. I know everybody hates you, but I love you.
It's like, that's what you're used to, you know?
So anyway, if you enjoyed this first episode, please let us know somehow. And I guess that's where we're going to close things out. My name is Peace for Lunch.
Shasta Daisy, or just Daisy64.
And you guys have a great Kamen Rider evening. That was stupid.
That was bad. It's okay.